Right through a channel of light fluid. As I promised, we're back with Moonfire, and this time, Chapter 4. The large empty hall lay before us with a few creatures waiting near the end. The sun barely rising, hardly any creatures yet awakened to bring their issues and distress to the attention of the crown. Queen Avera sat attentively at her throne, with Alucard and Kali standing nearby. I can see upon her face her attention was solely for me. Greetings to our newest lunar knight of Malenthia, the first in many years. I must start in congratulating you in successfully becoming a knight and overcoming any challenging test the divines may have had for you. Your power will not go unexplored. Kali has debriefed me on your missions. It is an obvious but necessary statement. Thank you for doing your duty keeping Alucard and Cora safe. It seems your tasks did not go uneventful. It also seems the people of Abo and Sarah have some respect still to learn of Havenheart and to royalty, but I think we are in the step towards the right direction, and hopefully some knowledge of the fiends can help us in any way possible, in case the monsters are to become a problem. Good job, knight. Alucard smiles, giddily handing me a small pouch of payment. Where are we? Probably give ourselves some more agility. Let me put one more into strength since we are using the sword a bit more. More HP. And now then, if all is settled, there is a simpler task at hand. Well, perhaps a simpler task for you, but a very important one for those you'll be guarding nonetheless. You will be travelling once more with Prince Alucard and Kali. You are to head to the southern border of Malenthia, to the forest of Fae. Wait, what for? Cora jumps in, trading glances between the mother and brother. They'll be meeting with the leader of the Damaskians for diplomacy. Is that safe? Diplomacy for what? I don't think Alucard needs to handle this. Now, with all due respect, Queen Avera, Kali told you how bad Abo almost got, no? Avera raises her eyebrow with a sarcastic shake of her head. I cannot tell if that was due to her actions or the question at hand. What do you think is ill-planned? Strategy need not be explained to me, Alucard. Yeah, and more than that. Kali, she is fine. A guard can do their duty best if they are well informed. Of course, we are all one to worry. This is a mission no one but Alucard can make. This is to develop relations, understand the issues at the border, and hopefully mitigate any hostilities until we have the civility of Malenthia under control. It will also look good upon him and the creatures if they are to continue seeing him among his people and taking the steps needed for Malenthia's future. Abo's a prime example of how the people feel, but with him out there and answering their calls, will show them he can be the ruler they need. And the Damaskians? Taking every precaution possible, it will not just be the few guards you travel with. We'll be sent in a small brigade under Kali and the Knight's command. Smaller than a caravan, but big enough to defend against anything but an army. As for Damaskian troops specifically, we negotiated they pass the threshold of the Fae Forest to our side of Malenthia. It eliminates any possibility of ambush, and the Fae uphold strict laws. If Damaskians are so even as to breathe wrong, they will not be making a return trip home. Well, damn. Precisely.
And cover all that,
We have a few knights from Raven's Hollow nearby. We'll also be in the vicinity. Aside from Havenheart, this is the safest possible place Alucard could go. It'd be their own death sentence if they'd try anything funny. We can afford that as well. And thankfully the Damaskians wish diplomacy at the Raven's present. I assume given their natural standing. So it is free protection as long as they are near. Ah, okay. Any questions? So, guard Alucard's diplomacy mission with the Damaskians. Got it. Are there any other tasks? Not this time. This is an important one, so we cannot dawdle. Of course, feel free to stop when needed, whatever the party may need along the way. That is all. How many men are you sending with us? I'm to send near 24 creatures at your command. There should be more than enough to defend on the roads. I would send more if I could. Only so many to dispose. Anything else? No, I don't think so. Good. It is a new day. Best to head out now. Your brigade is already set and ready to depart. Thank you, Your Highness. Within her throne, she bows her head in a notion of respect as I leave. Near the castle exit, I hear a soft yet pleasant tune drifting through the doors. On the outer steps, bathed in the morning sunlight, the vibrant sound flows from the strings of Keo the wolf as he plays for Cameo, Fender and several others. He pinches her as I approach, with an applause from Fender. How is beautiful! You need to come play for Leon sometime, friend. I love your tune. What do you think, Errant? I enjoyed what I heard. Same. You should play another tune. I will have plenty of time to play for you. As I have been told, we may be travelling together anyways. I should have a chance again, I'm sure. Oh, we are? Mayu tilts her eyebrows, following behind me and the rest of our crew. Ah, yes, I saw Kyo earlier this morning. He'd like to leave Havenheart, so we might as well travel together for safety and a bit of a morale boost for the crew. Where's a bard like you heading off to? Kyo immediately chuckles. I played for a while in Haven. I think it is time I hit the road for adventure. Raven's Hollow, maybe, or perhaps Avo again. I'm yet to make my mind still. Well, we are on our way out, so I hope you're ready, Q. I was born ready. But your royal guards and servicemen join your party. Oh, we're a brigade. Okay. So, MCs, companions on countist. That lot. Okay. I think we should continue with Cameos. Been doing a good job for us so far. They're on our way. Travelling through Leon, I can see across Cameo's face, portraying a mix of distress yet underlying hope. Yearning eyes darting from the empty windows of the inn to the shed Tal will often go to retrieve a few casks of ale that were stored there. As soon as his eyes would dart from window to window, they fell back to the ground, with a sigh from the answer he already knew. Tal was still gone. Would you like to stop for a moment, Cameo? Is now really the... Mayu! Never have I heard Cora so sternly snap at Mayu, and her face represented that. I wouldn't want to burden anyone. Cameo shuffles his paws together indecisively. We can stop for a moment, Kameo. A little rest doesn't hurt anyone. Is anyone here to run you in now, Kameo?
Yeah, he's a friend of Plant's. Very kind he is.
Kameo pushes open the door to his inn, where a smell of stew spilled out to our noses.
A soft glow from the fireplace illuminated across the narrow tavern that lay empty for the most part, aside from 3 individuals. One lizard sat lonely at a table, while the other 2 stood and talked near the front. Behind the counter stood a cheetah, leaning against the wood while his free hand motioned in gesture from a deep conversation. Talking to him was a smaller but darker-furred lynx, who glanced over at our party as we entered. Responding to a wave from Kameo, the lynx nodded back to his friend before heading towards the fireplace.
Who's that?
Lynx? That's Storm. He's one of my regulars to Leon, actually.
As we near the counter, the cheetah behind it greets us.
Vance, Kameo, how fares?
Cora, sisters, my friend and Kameo's help of the time. She introduces us the cheetah behind the counter.
Where it is going. We're here for a short rest before we continue our journey.
After mutual introductions, the conversation dispersed among friends. We eventually found our seats among the tables. An earthly flavour of stew spewed from the cauldron over the fire, flowing in a wave through the tavern. Even from the smallest roads travelled, great relief comes from a short rest. The aroma of the stew grew tenfold as Kameo poured them into individual bowls and passed around the tables. Plenty of extra stew was made, as if the foresight of guests was given well in the beginning of the day. Amid the dining crew, I overheard a conversation by the drawing on the wall between a few guards. They sat nearby to me and piqued my interest on the poster. A charcoal picture of dark lines and shadows deformed the bust of a creature unfamiliar to me. A sketch of a fox with dark, circled eyes, tight-lipped with a stern, furrowed brow, stared back at me.
What is it?
I direct my voice to them as I look at the poster on the wall. The only details to accompany the rough sketch of the peculiar fox were the words underneath spelling "wanted."
It's Tama, or what they say, looks like. I don't know anyone who's seen him.
I listened a while back near the traders' camp. Mayu pitched in from across the table, instilling memories of the bandit ambush we endured on our way to the Divines. Tried to proclaim he was Tama.
Huh, interesting.
So like,
Vendio mumbles with a mouthful of food.
How come cows and stuff don't fade away when they die like we do?
That seems rather dark. Vendio glances down ashamedly.
I was just curious, because of the beef in the stew.
It's an honest question for someone who doesn't know.
You see, there are 2 kinds of creatures, right? You have the sentient creature kind like me, who walk and talk. Then you have feral animals, horses, cows, sheep, some dogs even. Creature kind are one of Aswin's descendants. We carry spirit. When our spirit departs, it leaves our bodies to descend, what we call ascending. Ferals are not sentient, and when they pass, their body remains but does not receive ascending. It can be kind of sad when you think about it. It's also what allows us to eat our food and harvest resources from Earthia.
Oh.
I hope that helps.
Amber smiles dearly to Fendu, and now swishes the spoon within his stew, lost in thought. We continue our meal when, near the end, the silent lizard in the corner of the tavern slowly stood and approached me. His face protruded emotions of excitement, mixed with jittery hands. He approached wide-eyed with a stutter that faded once he found his words.
By Aswin, you're the new lunar night. I couldn't ever imagine a day such as today. It's actually you eating here in the same room as me.
I hear a cough in the corner as Mayo chokes on a slice of bread. Yes?
Wow, I hear all about you from the people here in Hearth. All grand tales of mysticism and magic of a creature never seen. A human. I'm a big fan of humans now. Could I follow in your adventures? I can cook and stuff.
he seems friendly enough. We can maybe take him along. Yes, a true knight needs a good cook.
By Aswin, sweet cherry blossom, I'm going to cook the best of all the everything. Aswin, bless the food I will make you. What an adventure! Thank you. I'll go get my things.
Oh, she smiles warmly. Wow, Storm did a great job on this stew.
How come we don't want to stay and eat any?
Not too sure, really.
It gets kind of moody sometimes.
Well, it was mighty good. Thank you for everything you do. And for continuing to watch the inn.
Of course.
Well, let me know if Tyler makes it back, please.
Stas nods in affirmation. So we can head out now?
Well, I think it's time for us to head on to our next destination. Let's travel. The road beyond Haven and Leon thinned in travel as less and less creatures passed by, and beyond Abo, their observation was even more so. Only the occasional farmer or knight would pass by.
Is that them up ahead?
Near the fork in the road between the Forest of Fey and Raven's Hollow? Oh, I think it is.
Ahead of us stood only two lone creatures. The smaller wolf accompanied by a creature, that of an elf, but not quite.
Something more majestic showed in her posture, and the horns gave it away the most. It was not until I caught myself staring that I realised I was giving her precisely the same look she was giving me.
Ewan? Sorry, the knight and Prince of Melenthia he guards. Hello. I am Kamara from the forest.
She glances at Alikar before facing me yet again.
I can tell from your face you've not seen someone like me before. I am Azavel, a Hulf of Fey or half-elf. There are many like me, and many different species unlike me too. Fair of the trees and roots, our beauty shines with nature.
She smiles wide, doing almost curtsy of a bow before she chuckles. Sounds lovely.
Isn't it? Okay, but maybe I'm exaggerating a bit, so I just can't help myself with those who never met a Fae before.
Oh, all right. I force a nervous chuckle.
But yes, I am from the forest, if I've not said that.
Oh, nice to meet you.
Anyway, this is Waffles.
The purple wolf looks up with a bashful wave of his paw. Oh, hi there. He glanced between me and the others.
Waffles here at the cabin not far off. He's going to join in with the meeting of the Damaskians. Waffles is a sorcerer of sorts and might be able to offer some insights.
Well, I don't know about that per se.
You'll do fine. Besides, you knew you'd be here.
Oh, not quite actually. Sort of a whim, I'd say.
We'll see how it goes.
The pleasure is mine. Nice to meet the both of you.
We are just waiting for... Speak of a Newa spirit and the show.
Kamara, with her fingers together, brings her index side to her forehead to create a shade over her eyes. A near half-dozen soldiers walk yonder down the opposite fork in the road. Swiftly approaching strides a peculiar bird beside the familiar face of Stenmir, followed by his men.
Stenmir, you are back?
For protection, little one. He looks the confusion on the purple wolf's face.
The meeting?
The Damaskians?
Oh, right, that.
Where's Stas?
He is watching Caballo's Inn for now, hoping he'll be back soon.
Saku. I have not seen you in a long time. The Black Raven bowed slightly in salutations.
Greetings, yes.
It is a rarity for me to leave my headquarters, let alone Raven's Hollow at all.
Saku, meet our lunar knight. Yeah, right? Saku.
Alakar waved his hand in a productive gesture between us two.
The pleasure that it is mine to finally meet the knight.
He darts a few glances between me and Alakar, fidgeting with his talons along the staff he held beside himself.
I guess,
I wear it so much I forget it is even there.
Forgive me.
I don't know what I mean.
Mind me, Geraint? I mean the mask.
It was a gift from a mage of Rixlian, custom and multifaceted for, it's a long story. As you probably met Stenme before, well, him and Jade you know, probably the fighters of the Raven Knights. Aye, a Raven, accomplished the more official court side of things, affairs and the like.
So the three of you are the leaders?
Yep,
that's correct. We guide Raven's Hollow and the mercenaries whom represented.
Well, it's a pleasure to meet you.
The pleasure is all mine.
Good. So we head to the forest?
That is the plan. Yep, follow me. The Damaskians should be arriving any minute. Only about 20 of them or so I heard.
I had little expectations of how the forest would be, and like always my initial thoughts were barely correct. The trees were vibrant and varied here, many so deeply clustered between bushes and other flora. The humidity here was tenfold compared to the forest near Havenhearth. It was neither too hot nor cold. The temperate atmosphere was kept perfect by the hot sun above, paired nicely with the speckled shade of the canopy above. We walked for a while, weaving along a thinning path that was once the common road that split through Melenthia. Most of the trail now covered in grass and other greenery. Occasionally the path would narrow to the point I could touch trees on either side of me, but always open up to a pocket of space within the forest. The trees surrounded a large opening of sunshine, with little huts that fit crowded in the centre next to each other. All of them not much bigger than the smallish shacks I saw on the outskirts of Haven, yet these looked comfortable and well built. They all fit together, forming a miniature village of sorts. Bushes enveloped their homes, as if it were a fence around a small community, with moss running along the walls, and small gardens built upon the rooftops. The best spot to reach ample sunshine. The creatures were plenty and lively, but way too varied for me to recognise a single one. A few I saw looked akin to Chimera, but so many others were a mix of species, fairies and the like. Some were gardening on the rooftops, too busy in their day to care for strangers like me, I guess. While many others were the exact opposite, standing outside their homes or peering through windows, stopping their daily chores entirely to watch as we passed by their homes. As soon as we carried on through the village into another set of trees, we were on the path again, weaving along as we passed several more clumps of open areas and homes of Fae. Sometimes I'd hear chuckles and unfamiliar words through the trees. Whenever I tried to peer through, I could never see the creatures behind the noises. All the while, since before we ever entered the forest, one landmark was always visible. Far in the distance, well above the tree canopy, was the largest thing I ever saw. A tree so massive it towered above mountains. It was still so far away I could barely make out the faintest of figures flying around it. An occasional group or two of what I could only assume were fairies, and the first flying creatures of Melenthia I ever saw. Many flew around the sky, occasionally landing within the many branches of the colossal tree. Happily watching my observations, Chimera spoke up.
You'll never see anything else like it. That's the World Tree, the only one left at Havnor.
Does it have a purpose?
The World Tree is the seed of life, an embodiment of Newa and Othea's love, the essence from which we gain knowledge, power and life. It is a landmark for the dead, a realm for which souls can find safety and comfort before passing through the gates to Newa. So we nurture it and gather their frequent tea tree as the fall.
It's beautiful.
The most beautiful in Valentia.
She smiles wide. She gazes at the sky, proud and content. It was not until the third or fourth area that we came upon a farm with a bigger cabin and several fenced areas. Yet no farmers were in sight. Instead, I saw a plethora of faces scattered along the tree lines and partially hidden within the bushes. All of them were stern or emotionless, with hands clasped to bows and spears. I'd nearly forgotten about the meeting with any Damaskians entirely, until I saw a group of the soldiers tying their horses to posts near the edge of the farm. A pang of nervousness fell into my stomach as the Vera's words played over in my head.
Every precaution possible.
Raven Knights are here in the Fae too. This is their home. I had no reason to feel fear, yet I could not control it. Most of the creatures were mountain lions, adorned in light armour with only infrequent straps of metal to their gauntlets and chest. Many of them wielded javelins and spears. I could see from a distance the confrontation when the Fae as he pointed back and forth between the creatures holding their weapons and their horses near the fence. In the time it took us to approach, the creatures had reluctantly laid down their arms by their mounts and returned.
You know the rules?
Kamara turns around to the party. I actually did not. As I turned around to see, none of our soldiers held any weapon in paw, so many of them even went as far as removing the belts they held their swords. All but one set their weapons to the side.
Stenmir,
she utters slowly, sneering his way.
Oh, fine,
he grunted. Instead of removing the sheath from his back, he withdrew his sword entirely. Enjoying the many eyes of the Fae on him, he shifted the weight of the sword off his shoulder and pointed first into the ground below. With just the force of the weight itself, the blade sunk effortlessly into the forest floor with a thump loud enough they nearly echoed off the nearby trees. I don't know why, but I could feel my heart race as we made our steps towards the Damaskians. Within the centre of the opening we all met, eye to eye. I did not know what to expect. What am I supposed to do? Do I need to do anything at all, or just let it play out? A silence lingered as we all observed each other. The force of the Damaskian brigade was about the same of ours, if you include the Raven Knights. Many of the soldiers were cougars or other large felines. One of the many stood out, solely because he's the only one that never dismounted his horse. He stood in the centre, looking down upon everyone. You could tell his horse was more than a tool trim than a mount. Realising the notion, I looked to Alikar, who focused his gaze upon the cougar, watching him in silence. The moment the creature opened his mouth to speak, Alikar did as well, quick to his words. It was hard to tell if he did it on purpose or accidentally cut him off.
It seems we have a lot to talk about. Let me start as introduce myself. I am Alikar of Havenhearth, Prince of Valentia. Accompanying me is Stenmir and Saku of Raven's Hollow, as you know, and Kali, head of court and advisory to Queen Lavera. Nice to finally have a face to the name. I am Ivro Melistar, head general to Majesty Tenoka of Damaskia. Tenoka needs no advisor, so I am all you need to know. Now I will start. I to admire Valentia. I have not seen with my own eyes beyond the forest of the Fae, but I hear it to be a grand place, ruled by a loving queen and unified land.
Alikar takes a long, quiet breath.
It is true. I will value your words as I do a sage with curious intent, one whom I've met only today. Let us cut formality. I prefer to know why you're here, why you wanted the ravens present. Yes, there is that. Tenoka wanted to create clarity on some matters, as well as possible negotiation. We'd like to know why we'd received some fairly nasty letters from Kali here, and signed off by the Queen herself. Tensions are clearly rising on both parties, and there is not a need for it.
Alikar shoots a glance to Kali, who shrugs.
Nothing was sent that was an unreasonable reaction. I'm sure you're well aware the attack someone entered soil by Damaskian blade.
I think I've heard some things. I'd like it to hear from you to confirm they are true.
It is just that. Attacks made by Damaskians on innocents of Valentia. Farmers and traders on the southern roads have been attacked, robbed and killed. Some go missing entirely, or worse. It has been seen and known by our men and ravens alike.
Please refrain from your tone, Kali. I can sense it. Rather unnecessary. Let it be known these men do not represent Damaskia. They are heathens and lawbreakers. Crossing to Melenthia is a written offence by Damaskian law. We make that clear rather often, so we want to cherish the peace we have between our borders. And bandits, then? No other creatures of Damaskia cross the border? Of course. I sense a hesitation on his behalf, one that is rather obvious after we recall the scouts in the Asera Desert. No honourable creature, nor soldier of Damaskia would cross the border, let alone attack innocents. The creatures that do are raiders, no different than the Culven bandits you face. As we know, this behaviour is as frowned upon by you as it is Tengoka. They give Damaskians a bad image and are foul. They deserve death by sword as swift as any other. I glance among the feline faces, darting confused glances at the others. Their unease emanating beyond their masks and helmets. It was hard for me to come up with a resolution to this. Did you even think of one? Or were you only prepared to throw down law and order, prepared to reprimand the general for the doings of lowlifes? Well, it is not that. Tengoka is your king. He should... Ah! Figures. We are more so here for understanding. Figure out what's been going on and put a stop to it without the need of further tensions. Precisely. Anakar the reasonable. Again, I wish to express the activity of any bandits of Damaskia are not of notion for Damaskia as a whole. This brings me to why I wish the ravens present on this. Saku tilts his head in curiosity, listening intently. During the Damaskian Divide, Raven of old established a form of knights in Hallowstead, now known as the Raven's Hallow. This group has stood a mutual mediator between Melenthia and Damaskia, correct? Yes, you are correct. It is written in the code for Knights of Raven. We stand mutual to all political parties. Yet, I can only imagine you are close, as your land technically falls under Melenthia territory. I can't help but fear this creates a partiality between the two. As one of the three leaders, I make sure we follow all rules justly, especially when it comes to the code. Our relations with Melenthia are rather sound, due simply that we are nearest them. We gladly accept coin to patrol the roads and protect convoys against bandits, culvens, and any of those who break laws to harm innocents. We do the same for Damaskia, Zemia, or Rixlian, if they are to ask the same. This is the thing that's not written against in our code, and is perfectly okay. What is the point of this? You're all aware of this, no? We feel in order to assist in harbouring safety on the border, we will need assistance ourselves. And with that assistance, we also ask that Melenthia does not supply Raven's Hallow with any coin. We have not accepted coin from Melenthia for days. The events of the last convoy were rather unfortunate. We patrol the roads, but we cannot sustain the nights without coin, unless you pay us for such an agreement. I don't know. That creates issues. I can think of a few instantly. If bandits were to attack Melenthian soldiers, we wouldn't just stand idly by. Well, let's hear the rest. So what is this assistance you offer? I feel, in order to help protect and alleviate any mistrust with these hoodlums that supposedly come from Damaskian territory, I propose that you allow the placement of Damaskian men within Raven's Hallow. Iroh, noticing the glances Alakar and Kali shoot each other, the reactions of the others, is quick to elaborate. It need not be many men, say just 60 or so. They will aid in the daily work of the town and to also join patrols alongside the knights to mitigate any attacks on the Melenthia and Damaskian border. To show truth that these bandits are not of the Damaskian blade. It also helped prove to Tengoka that the Raven's Hallow continues in the ways of their code. We have always been. It is not to our responsibility to show you what is or is not happening. Then how would I know if ravens have deviated from the code? Stenmere grunts, shifting his head as his weapon still jutting from the ground. You'd know. Iroh's ears bend back, a snarl across his face. Are you threatening me? And are you trying to scare me? Stenmere twists his muzzle to the air with a cocky grin. Try me, kitten. My sword would split you in two. Stand me. Okay. Alakar holds his hands up to settle the intensity of the air. We just have a lot to go over here. I knew we should have brought Rain along, Saga mutters. We can talk about some things, but first, now that we know what Damaskian wants, Melenthia desires an agreement as well. Iroh shifts his position on his horse, taking a moment's respite before continuing. Let me hear it. Aside from the obvious, the attacks from Damaskian soldiers should be reduced to zero. This is unacceptable whether it be bandit or soldier. Melenthia has, and always will, desire peace with Damaskia. We seek continued order in a treaty signed by Teng Oka. A continuation of peace for a minimum 10 years. Done. Simple. If agreement is reached, it will be expected to be signed by Teng Oka. I said, done. Alright, give me a moment to speak with my advisor. Iroh rolled his eyes as we backtracked to outside the trees. I observed Saku as he nervously lifted his mask just enough to rub the underside of his beak with his talon. We take several paces out of earshot from Iroh and the others. I think I should stay behind with the Damaskian so it does not look like we make ploys. Let it be known I am okay with all he asked, except the resistance of coin from Melenthia. That is not helpful. We require to feed our knights and families. Saku nods before heading back to the inner circle of the forest. I not like how he speaks of me. Iroh? Yes. Now you know why I speak the way I do. He is an entitled tyrant. All hiss and no claw, yet he wants to stay in my home. Ha! It does not seem a rather sound idea. I'm not so sure. A fight could be pretty fun. But if it comes to anything, we'll make sure they stay on the edges of Raven's Hollow. I don't know if any of that matters. What do you think of his demands? You are right. Let us get down to the agreement. I can't imagine that would soldier the Damaskian on Melenthia's soil in any circumstance. How else would they help in eliminating any Damaskian bandits, though? I can see it, but 60 is definitely too many. And how many knights are stationed in Raven's Hollow? Hardly 100, not counting civilians. Well, yeah, 60 is a worrying amount for the safety of the Ravens and Melenthia. Any amount is a worrying amount. We need to compromise, though, to show trust and understanding. I do not worry for the Ravens, as Damaskian has no reason to attack them. I'm not worried for myself either. That brings the meaning of spies as well, if they are trying to find an end to our plans and actions. Most political nature is not discussed with the Raven Knights, only outcomes of decisions and requests. I do not blindly trust him, though, considering the scouts you guys mentioned you saw in the Asera Sands. They were for sure scouts? Oh yes, by the sounds of some of the attacks on the villages, the men are hardly armed nor armoured. But the ones in the Asera Sands were armed by the Damaskian insignia at that. We can keep an eye out. Like the Ravens' code, we are mutual in political nature. If Melenthia and Damaskian were to war, Ravens cannot take stands. That does not mean word cannot slip out if something strange was being noticed beforehand. For the safety of citizens, of course. Alright. This is difficult. We cannot agree to 60 men. Let us say 30. If they were to plan evil deeds, they could be put to rest swiftly by Melenthia's sword, and treaty would be broken. They'd have to leave Raven's Hollow in mass as well, in order to do anything. You could write in the treaty they must work in groups of the Ravens, so never left unattended on Melenthia's soil. I still think we should say no to any of it. But we need a compromise. Maybe we can offer them the chance to prove it. And worst case, like I said, 30 men could be swiftly dealt with. I imagine my mother would not hesitate to send plenty of men if it meant a hostile force. Still, you can look at the alternatives. That is the purpose of the treaty as well. They would have to ship their gold to Rixley and it would stand mutual in this agreement. They would hold a ledger, and if the treaty is broken, that amount is given to Melenthia, interest and all, instead of being returned to Damaskian. And how much is that? 20,000 gold. It would be enough to hire mercenaries outside of Melenthia. We could double an army in a fortnight with half that amount. That is a rather alluring amount. Again, you're being rather quiet. I know you're just a knight in these affairs, but I'd love to hear your opinion. What would Lavera want? It is hard to know, my mother. I feel she'd be upset to know any Damaskians settle in Raven's Hollow. She definitely would not be happy. But I can take the time to show the positive sides, though. They would help with bandits, and again, if we can talk them down in the amount of soldiers, she'll live. I'm not too sure. You don't have to worry. I'm not asking you to decide it yourself. Just curious what Melenthia's Lunar Knight thinks. Kamara mentioned Waffles the sorcerer, that he could offer insight. Is that not why he came along? Well, yes. No. He pauses, closing his eyes as he ponders. Do the Fae have any thoughts? The Fae care only for their home and the protection of the World Tree. Speaking of Fae, how did the Damaskians even cross the forest undetected? Kamara told me they spotted them from time to time on the outskirts. They pass along the coast, crossing the many outlets of rivers, or they try to pass to the east by the lake where it becomes quite mountainous and difficult to climb. Whichever choice they take, avoiding the main path across the border should prove mighty difficult. They'd have to be desperate to be doing such a thing. Any words of wisdom for a time like this? There's a lot of thoughts that bother me. I don't know if speaking them would make things clearer for you, or harder, Annika. While it seems this decision feels important, it is maybe not as worthy as time will allow. It all depends on your perspective, though. But you may look back in hindsight and realize it to not be as it seems. You're right. That wasn't clear at all. You're a witch. Waffles chuckles at the thought. I proclaim nothing. I can only tell you what you already know, that Ivros seems shady. But there are pros and cons to everything. After all, a shadow's bane grows only in the light of day. The flower? Yes. Sorry, thought's my bad dream of mine. Alright. What else is there to think about? Well, we have to think about the negatives too. If we decline anything, we have to deal with the bandits ourselves, and we receive no treaty. They could attack us at any moment if they truly wanted. I don't trust Damaskians. I wouldn't be surprised they had a hand in making the Culvens as well. Carly, you're supposed to be the advisor here. And I advise you not to trust them. Carly throws his wings in the air before storming into the trees. And I thought I had the anger problem. Stenmir snorts in amusement. Alikar raises his hands to his forehead in frustration as Cora steps up and remains silent for so long. Ali, just do what you think is right. Mother may be worried, but that should not concern you. Do what you think is right for Melenthia's creatures. Alikar took a moment of silence to collect himself. Well, I cannot be the only deciding factor, I assume. This is why a king has advisors. If it were me, I'd say no. Ivro is a churl. But I also know Saku is sound of mind. He said he's not bothered by it, as long as Raven's Harrow can continue the work we do for Melenthia. I don't trust him, though. Right. So you are 1 for 1, a tied. I guess that leaves Raven Hollow mutual in that sense as well. I know that Kali is one for disagreeing, but I feel I should agree to the terms. I know I just asked Knight, but I want to know what you would do in my situation. Maybe I'm just missing some forethought. What do you think? What do we do? This is where if I was streaming this live, I'd say, hey chat, what are we going to do? But I have to make the decision for any of you watch this. So what should we do? Ivor's definitely a jerk. Let's not disagree on that. I think we can... Yep, he is definitely a jerk. He's not very pleasant to deal with, but does that mean we should disagree the terms? Can we trust Raven's Hollow? I certainly trust Stenmere. So what should we decide? I'm definitely thinking about this. If you want, this isn't... Oh, let's build up tension. This is me. What should we say? Because once I make the decision, I'm not changing anything. I can't alter the playthrough that way. So let us offer a compromise. So we agree with Alucard and Saga on compromise of terms. Alucard will tell Ivor, the General Damaskian, we should give an alternative to his terms instead of housing the full 60 men and allow half of that to reside in Raven's Hollow. Damaskians wish to confirm Ravens follow the code and will help bandits return. Fair enough. This choice will cover Alucard, hopefully please Ivor, but Carly and Lavera will find your leadership questionable. This may risk a change in Valenti and Damaskian's future diplomacy. Well, so could disagreeing. Actually, let's have a... Since we can... No, won't we go back? So, yeah. It's, there's a change to all this, whatever we do. So let's go with what we decided. If it were me, I feel you have the right judgment. Compromise for 30 men to be stationed. You'd still help with fighting bandits, and you won't lose any relations with Damaskian either. That is, if they agree. I'm glad to know you side with that idea, Geraint. The people of Melenthia will side with my gut on this one. Carly and Navera may not be happy, but it is the call I'm willing to make. It is settled then. I'll tell him promptly. Iro, after some thought, I'd like to make a counteroffer. Well, let's hear it. I can understand your wish to help with the bandits that lay at the Melenthia border, and your need to know of current Raven affairs. With all that said, I can only agree to allow 30 men into Raven's Hollow. I feel it makes the most sense, as any additional troops do not fulfill that need any farther, and only at the invitation from the knights themselves, of course. Huh? Oh yes, of course. You have no qualms. Yeah, actually, we can make room, I think. 2 cottages near the edge of Raven's Hollow that are vacant. We can clean over exchange if held by the Damaskians, with some flat land in between for tents too. There's not free hospitality. Work in exchange for food, whenever we are not a patrol. No, of course. 30 men. Correct. That is a rather dull counteroffer. I do not see why I'd have any mistrust you to worry about the amount of men to accompany some ravens. But if those are the terms, we'll see if Tengoker is pleased with this. It is what I can do. I feel even this amount may not sit well with Avera, but it is something Damaska deserves on my behalf. I can send word back by pigeon for the treaty to be written before I return to Havenhearth, so it can be sent to Tengoker as soon as can be done. You and Kali can't do a treaty now? It will need to be done through the court and signed by Lavera. Fine. That's the end of business. I'm glad you could meet with me, Prince Alucard. Aswin, watch your path. Likewise. After the Damaskians saddle their horses and return south by the guidance of several Fae, Kamara steps back to the group. Well, despite what felt a bit tense, things seem to settle nicely, no? We can hope so. Alrighty then, come this way, you can take a stroll back to Melenthia. We left the forest and the decision is now made. Kamara and Waffles stay behind with the Fae, as Saku, Stenmere and their men took their leave back to Raven's Hollow. It was just our brigade once more to make our way back and deliver the news to Lavera. head back to Havenhearth. The day waned to a sliver as our brigade trudged on. My feet dragged heavily through the gravel and dirt of the road. I missed the ease of the convoy and the wagons when they had them, despite the small ride it was. Daylight yet lingered, but I was sure it'd be long past nightfall when we returned to Havenhearth. Fender, alongside the others in the group, spoke for the crew as he whined aloud. My feet are starting to hurt. We are nearly there. What? Hardly. I've been on this road before. We've been walking all day. Can't we stop for the night? And we should keep going. We are not far from Haven. Yes, we are. Ah. Fender stammers, balling his fist and throwing his arm out to either side of himself. Fender's right. What? We are but barely past the halfway mark. Let's rest the night in Abba and we can head out early morn. Fender turns to Alakar with a gleaming smile, something Alakar alone has not received from him since they were kids. Young Aswin, I can sit again. Well, if everyone else would rather stay. Well, I'm never opposed. It'd be nice to not kill my feet. The town of Abbo cooed and hummed with the unchanging tunes of the days before. Albeit late afternoon, the streets were still busy with creatures shutting down shop and heading home for the night. Alakar chose to stay within the tavern, which, to my surprise, had just enough rooms to house us all. But tired legs meant hungry maws, which the tavern cooks had not prepared for. I stood among half the crew outside, waiting eagerly for the cooks to prep and the tables to be cleared. Hey, Garrett. How's it going, Soma? I say cheerfully, happy to be relaxing on our home stretch to Havenhearth. I've been wanting to say, I've been watching how you carry yourself. What do you mean? Well, with your duties and all, the advice you gave Alakar and everything in between. It is rare you see someone who takes what they do seriously, and well. It seems like the right thing to do. Well, you can say it helps the royalty of Valentia, if that is what you mean is the right thing. I can't really just walk away. I guess that is fair to say. One last question, I'll leave you be. If Avera said you were no longer needed, and you found what you were searching for, would you stay with Cora and the others, or would you leave? I feel like I made friends here. I'd stay for them. That seems a viable enough reason to me. Don't hesitate to tell me if I was a bore to you. I just wanted to pick your brain a bit. It was a pleasure. I'm happy to hear. We're bonded more with Soma. As time went on, we were seated within the tavern, when a startling grumble turned many eyes to Soma, who coddled his stomach, a frown accompanying his face. I'm so hungry. I've not eaten all day. Oh, same. I wonder why it's taking them so long. You guys could have asked me. I had snacks. Well, why are you keeping them? They would make fine appetizers. Had been my key word there. I ate the last ones a few miles back. Kamea blushes shamefully. Dang it. To be honest, I thought we'd be eating more often. Really, Kyo? What, is that wrong? I think you're just travelling with the free food. No, I swear. There's 3 meals a day, too much to ask. I feel like I'm on a hiking trek to the far ends of the Forsaken with you all. I'm only teasing. Hans chuckles aloud. But you have to play us a song in exchange. After dinner I shall. Right now I'm too hungry to focus. A whirling aroma of cedarwood, buttered vegetables and savoury soup twitched the nose of Keo and the others. From the doors of the kitchen, a familiar face brought forth a plethora of bowls and plates. The wooden bowls full of soup overflowed from the rim. They clattered to the table from the swift, almost unsteady hand of the server. An occasional mess splattered the table with little care from the server as he smiled but rushed away for the next set of bowls. He started at the far end by the guards, briskly moving down the tables, saving Alucard, Cora and the rest of us for last. Alucard, generally accustomed to being served first, tried to hide his discontent. Hey, it is you again, Alucard says with a smile. Yep. The server merely nods, too busy in their task to stop for conversation. You work late as well? Yeah, not always. Excuse me. The server, his attention already on retrieving his next set of bowls, rushes back to the kitchen. The constant chatter at the table quickly dwindled out of wooden spoons, scraping bowls, and the slurping of soups. The tavern was nearly full of just our brigade, with a few other customers sticking to tables on the sides or emptying out from the tavern as the night faded on. Pardon me, Cora muttered as she stood from her spot and left the washrooms. Mayo, no sooner food was hardly touched aside from some bread and vegetables, worriedly followed. Was she okay? I'm not sure. Sometimes she does not eat very often. On days she gets nauseous. Maybe it was the heat from travel. Another! The shout shook our attention to the guards at the other end of the table. Their hollers erupted to laughter as one stood with his mug to the air. Marky! I said, another! The Ark swayed, bewildered by his loss of control, before spilling over on his hooves, with a loud clatter of armour smashing hardwood floor below. Come to, chuckling by the guards, quickly faded, severe unease. The entire crew realised the same heavy-headed sensation from their drunken friend, quickly spread to the rest of the others. One guard raised his mug to peer inside, bewildered, for his face fell muzzle first into his bowl. What's in that? The words wondered by many were cut short by the wild reaction from just one. I turned with concern to Alucard, who clutched his throat, eyes blood red and blinking rapidly. Everyone else was still distracted in discourse or confusion. A rasped sound escaped Alucard's mouth. He tried to speak, but no words could escape. A sudden fear gripped my mind as my gut suddenly churned upside down. Was I feeling it too? I had but only water in my mug. The soup? What was it? The room began to spin in my visions. My only instinct was to stand and run for Alucard. I did not know what was happening, just that his reaction was the most severe. The expressions of others turned from shock to audible gasps. And just as I thought I could stand, I felt my head swirl exorbitantly. A numbing rush flooded over me as all the blood flushed from my head and down to my body. I thought I could reach him in time, yet I met only the floor with my face. Electrifying static rippled through the air. The sudden sound of it invaded my ears and startling me to consciousness. My vision felt blurred, accompanied only by an eternal ringing in my head, followed by a residual static. I felt weak within my bones. To even lift my face off the floor felt a task all but achievable yet. Another ripple zapped the air. Then, silence. The concerned worry of so many guards now silenced by the strange substance that had overwhelmed them. My cheek pressed hard against the wood floor, now splattered in all manners of food, drink, and unconscious bodies. My stomach churned as I ready to vomit. Yet my very insides quivered weakly, garnishing no strength to even function as I had hoped. I held my stomach, hearing the soft whimper of Kameo, who I could only imagine was now waking just as I had. The electric crackling persisted as the blue haze filled the room. I mustered what strength I could to merely angle my head a few inches, just to see what was creating this sound. It followed, now not with silence, but a fearful weeping.
Ow!
Cora's tone was hoarse, her eyes red with tears and pain. With vision still blurred, I could barely make out her hand loosely on Anikar's chest, the other holding him close. He laid entirely motionless, eyes closed in what I assumed was an involuntary slumber. No. I knew it wasn't that. I feared for what it was. Held loosely within her grasp, Cora trembled with the treaty that sat between her palm and Anikar's chest. Light crackled from her palm as her face tightened in sheer pain. The blue haze I finally recognised to be that of the healing property she pulled from the arcane. The crackle was something I was entirely new to. I'd never seen this from her before. An uncomfortable length of time ensued. I finally found the strength to move, even though it was still not enough to stand. The others around the room all hexed with the same bodily restraints. The only one yet to move lay idle in a haze of blue. The blur that fogged my vision barely faded alongside the ring that ached within my ear. I'd hoped to see a stage left to give answers, yet faced a sequence of chaos that had been considerably erupting all the while. My slow gain in senses merely blindsided me all the while. Several guards sprung to their swords, those whom I could only assume had either high constitutions or ate little of their food. Hooded figures from a few tables down leapt to intersect them. Were they all here all the while? Or as tavern patrons but pawns to a ploy? It seemed as though the guards were not heading for Anikar, but I could not comprehend. Too much screaming. Blades slid across unconscious necks. Bodies convulsed behind me. A horrid mix of a brawl, a struggle, a slaughter. A zap fills the air again, consistently drawing my attention back to Cora. I now noticed Mayo crawling toward her from the washroom. Amid the shouts of the men behind me, I catch their faint words as I struggle to get to my knees. Cora, it's not working. It's too late. He's... Stop and hand me! Shouts by the corner of the tavern draw my vision full circle about the room. Just now making sense to me. The guards aren't headed for Anikar. They're going after our culprit. Grasped from behind by both wrists, the creature squirms violently in the soldier's grip. He continues inaudible shouts in between struggled breaths, his weight seemingly matched by the guard who contests with his own dire intoxications. The others are occupied by clashes of sword and dagger down the hall. Guys, help! His shouts now met by the barge into the front door, which swung wildly open for several more figures to rush in. All but one is unfamiliar, his features too fresh in mind and too unique to be forgotten too soon. He stood behind a face of hate, one paw clutching a sword while the other was missing entirely. Stop struggling! Meet me! Why did you do it? The guard, clearly struggling, fumbles his grip. I wanted to intervene, I wanted to help, yet how could I when I can hardly stand on my own? I am not helpless. I could yell. I could help. I felt my energy to my lungs, shouting whatever command I hoped would suffice. Grab him! I felt distraught. Stopping the server from getting away meant everything to this resolution. If we killed him, we'd never get answers. The guard, hearing my shout, tries to reach out for the servant yet again, who is now several steps ahead, too far now to be reached by anything but a weapon. He sprung through the group of his men, out the door and beyond sight. The leaders and the guards now found their footing and followed through with swords, singing from sheaths. They stood our only deterrent as the brigade easily outnumbered the assailants, but at the cost of our weakness. Soma and Kali now found their paths to Alikar, where they crowded with worry. Fendur still laid out cold nearby, alongside many of the others. We stood at a standstill as the hooded creatures blocked the door now close to the tavern. Others stood around us, ready to slay any who attempted to flee. The scraping of a metal latch slammed into place, locking us in completely. None of you going anywhere. Go to hell. Heh, I welcome the day. This is our Malentia now. Any last... A calamity of noises behind the now-shut door rang out, followed by sudden repetitive banging. From the beginning of the sleep-depriving substance, to every following second left my brain in delirium. Repetitious banging on the door grew louder. Who could be outside? Who were these people? What else is going on? And my answer? Unsubtle, pure chaos. An explosion of smoke and fire shattered the wood and stone in the entranceway, shaking the very foundations of the tavern beneath us. Exhausted, unstable guards met blade to blade with their attackers, who probably thought their stance in the fight would be won with ease, if not for the chaos erupting from behind them. The white plumes of smoke from the explosion hung thick in the air like fog, pierced moments later by the sharp twang of arrows loosened one by one into the tavern. The narrow, smooth shaft of wood sliced the air with ease, before the bar of metal ends from their homes lodged in the chests of our assailants. The smoke split into trails that followed several creatures erupting from it, landing blows at the assailants around us. One stood out, a kangaroo leapt feet first with ferocity, jabbing her heels into the jaws of her opponents. One bandit fell behind the other, the ambushers becoming the ambushed. And just as I thought I could finally stand, I was knocked down from one of the brigands who trampled across me in an attempt to flee. The little air I even had now slammed from my chest, my vision goes uncomfortably black again. Slowly my vision came to. I was somewhere different entirely. I sprang up in a makeshift cot, confused uncertainty overwhelming my mind. I'm in a bed? It was a dream? No. The stains upon my shirt said otherwise. A repulsive blend of vomit, blood and broth. Instantly tore it off, aching from every bend in my joints. Yet at least I was able to move. The light here was dim, lit only by a single candle, while the sun from behind the thin tent canopy faded beyond the afternoon. It was hard to tell. Scarcely any of it was familiar. Then again, my surroundings appeared scant, with barely but a few empty baskets and an end table in the centre. On that table the sole candle worked alone against the encroaching night. Startled, a voice called out as I realised I was not alone. Carly stepped from the corner where I assumed he was waiting for me to eventually wake. Good, we didn't need to lose you, too. What happened? Too much. I saw you moving in the tavern. Do you remember? The server escaped. His men locked us in. An explosion? He won't make it far. He'll be outlawed in all Malentia. I'll make sure Zemi and Rixlian hears of him, too.
A lot of the brigade didn't make it. Some were killed in their sleep before they ever woke.
Poison?
Oh, I think so. Plants would know all about this, as she was a botanist having run an apothecary for a time. We don't all get affected the same either, so I'm hoping she'll be able to tell us more. Nalikar and Cora fare differently.
What happened to Alikar? His fate was sealed rather quick. I am with dread to say he did not make it.
And what about Cora? The toxin was slipped into her food too. We're pretty sure she only lived because she'd barely touched the soup. We're only lucky we did not lose them both. But she does not fare well. Aside from losing Alikar, her throat was also hoarse and she couldn't talk for hours. She fell back asleep, so she is okay for now.
The attackers? Carly stood to the side, burying his brow into his talons with a defeated sigh. Damn Colvan rats!
Were they even bandits? They wore no armour.
Disguised themselves, most likely. They could have easily been. We ran into that one guy in Abo before as we left the Fiends. Just seemed to be a distraught citizen for getting his hand chopped by a guard. Maybe they were assassins, paid off by Damaskians. How do we know if they're all dead or gone? Valencia is doomed without an heir. Vera, I dread what we must say to her. Calmly shakes his head one last time before taking his leave from the tent. They're all dead?
You must not have been awake for it. We were saved by a rather odd gang. They gave a strong enough distraction to guarantee our survival. Anyone left in that tavern who put their swords to us is no longer alive. In fact, you may recognize one of our saviours. She'd be happy to know you're up and well. Actually, if you can stand it all, we might as well get you out to see everyone.
Okay, I can do that.
And here, this will probably be nice to have.
Cameo hands me a fresh tunic to wear. I swung my feet from the bed, groaning from the ache within my muscles. They were stiff and sore as if I just slept on a pile of rocks for 2 nights straight. At least, on my first try, I was able to stand and step from the tent. The night outside overwhelmed the sky, throwing my timetable for a loop. Felt as though I suffered a hangover of delirium. The crisp, cool air, however, was a nice respite for my lungs. Thankfully I did not need to walk far before I was greeted with a short and familiar figure. Yeah, why am I starting to think you're going to keep owing me? It's supposed to be the other way around, you know? Oh, hey. It's nice to see you up and about. It was you who saved us. Oh, most definitely. Well, some friends and I may happy you should meet them as well. They'd like a word when you're able. I just want to catch my breath a bit, then I'll be over. Alrighty, Garrett. Everyone around the camp was in their own state of despair or mourning. Kyo sat nearby, gazing down at his lute and occasionally plucking the strings. He only met our crew not long ago, but I can't imagine quite what he's thinking as of late. Fender was nowhere to be seen. I assumed he was in Cora's tent. Plants was nearby, talking with Amber about something. I could see what she knows about the substance given to us. Not far off, a small commotion was arising from a large group at a table. They were surrounding someone, but I could not tell who. Hey, it's Geraint. How you feeling? Plants turns her attention to me and just finished a conversation with Amber. I'm doing okay. I'm alive. Hey, that counts for what it's worth. Why did you ask? Kari's mentioned you're a botanist. Oh yeah, I am. Why did he... Oh, right. Curious on what happened. The toxin and all. Yeah. The Shadow's bane for Shadow's embrace. It's a common saying, used mainly when times are rough. One can always take Shadow's bane to end it all. Kind of a dark saying. It's referring to the plant, Shadow's bane, not to be confused with Sparrow's bane, which is used for kids who can't sleep well at night. Pretty sure I recognise the leaves in the tavern kitchen where they prepared their vile deeds. Shadow's bane is a large stem with small purple flowers that dangle on its end. They're known for their vibrant flat petals. During bloom they spread apart. This sort of fashion looks like a bird's wings, with yellow seeds inside. Anyway, I'm confident it was used. Its key effect is a heavy drowsiness and muscle relaxer. Substantial quantities of it given can often cause coma for days or even weeks, usually ending in death because the creature affected can no longer eat or function. Some doctors use in small amounts as a sleep aid. It's quite uncomfortable when the dosage gets a bit heavy, so it can make your muscles ache when you try to move them. It's a twin flower, Sparrow's bane, which is wildly ineffective in most people. It can help kids when they start feeling a bit ill. They're similar of appearance, but way more varied and dull in colour. That would make sense. What about Alucard? That's the only thing I don't know about. It must be a rare flower or additive of some kind. They only gave to Cora and Alucard. And we couldn't find any trace of what they prepared for it. I think they either didn't have enough Sparrow's bane or used the wrong amounts. Thankfully we're alive and awake. At least that's what I could gather. Does that help? It helps a bit, thank you. Right, let me know if you need anything else. I'll be around. All I'm saying is Gary was the most recent to join us. Didn't want to be a cook of all things. Just a bit questionable is all. And you questioned me and I have answered. I haven't even seen the kid cook yet, come on. So why do you offer help is all? Wasn't even in the kitchens. So far they haven't asked me to do anything but settle the tents and help out. That's what I do. I get that. I killed the damn prince, so excuse me for pointing out some facts.
Suspicions, not facts. Plus he's out cold like the rest of us. If he's in on anything, he wouldn't have been right next to us at the edge of the blades.
Whatever. Mayo shrugged and returned as the crowd dispersed quickly afterwards. Thankfully, seeing the tensions did not rise beyond that. Ahead of where Linrar waited with a small group of creatures. Next to us stood a kangaroo and two foxes. The darker-furred fox stood boldly in front of the rest, eagerly reaching his paw towards me for a handshake. I willfully accepted his greeting. His eyes were set on me like he knew everything about me and had not even a name.
Geraint, the Lunar Knight of Melenthia, first human of Tavernor, an intrinsic wielder of the Dying Arcane. I am Zane, Prince of Asera.
Well, those my titles? Things people say of me? Don't think I've heard much of the latter two. Hi, Zane, was it? Seemed to already know me well then. Prince of Asera, weren't you missing?
Ah, classic Asera. Yes, that sounds about right. Let's just say, between me and you, I still am.
The fox gives a sly wink. Are you on the run?
Nah, man. I wouldn't go that far. They'd have to be chasing me to be on the run. I could delve deeper later. It's not really against any rules for me to leave Asera, just maybe frowned upon if I'm gone long. Which I plan on.
So it was you guys who blew up the tavern entrance? How do you know it was us inside and that we're in trouble?
Well, it started as a peculiar chain of events. We're in Eastern Melenthia, stopped in Haven before making our way down to Raven's Hollow. That's when we ran into Nina here, our newest kangaroo friend on the way from Rixley to Haven. Oddly enough, we were actually staying in the tavern in Abo, it seems. We stopped fairly early in Abo today and went for a stroll around town, which is when I assume you guys showed up. And on our return to the tavern is when we noticed it was locked. Pretty big inconvenience, you ask me, since we paid for the room and all. So we blew the damn door down. Show him to lock me out. Feels bad realising the innkeeper wasn't a part in all this. Well, we heard the fighting going on as well, so we felt something was up. By the help of our talented alchemist friend here, Azalea was able to blast the entrance and save you.
What happened to the innkeeper?
After it all was said and done, found him killed in the wine cellar. Yeah, feels bad. They're really trying to get away with it all, too.
Well, thank you for helping us.
Like I said, you're going to owe us. I guess I should finish introductions. This is Azalea, long-time friend of Linrar and I.
I don't hear the fox, who is a combination of a lively tiptoe and smile. She waves.
Hello there. And you can call me Anina.
The kangaroo beside her nods in gesture. She's taller than all of them. Not just taller, but well-rounded at her stomach. She places her palm on the top side of her belly as I look to her.
Nina here is with child. She left Rixley to seek refuge in Melenthia. Now maybe starting to rethink my choices. I knew Rixley was bandit-ridden, but Melenthia seems no different. It is definitely unfortunate, which is why we're here.
Wait a minute. I realised to myself. I thought Linra did not know where you were.
Okay, so I wasn't lying, I swear. Apologies, but I have a habit of making things difficult. I left Asera, found about the increase in bandits on the roads, the fiends, even the Damaskians crossing over. I want to do something for once, or I'll just sit and rot away in a cave, just for slight hopes of winning my father's spot over my siblings. Well, I can have all that. Yeah, so Zane disappeared for an annoying bit, nearly getting me in trouble.
The fox tilted his head in a soft chuckle at Linra's troubled worries.
After that, he returned, told me about the roads and the way to Raven's Hollow, and that we should go. Yeah, we didn't even make it, did we? Your idea wouldn't have worked anyways. They'd know you're the Prince of Sarah and send you back. Nah, those fake names are perfect.
Linra rolls her eyes.
Sorry, Aunt, we should not be keeping you this long. Alakar was a good prince and did not deserve what happened to him. I wish we had sooner, or better yet, never left the tavern. Yeah. For now, since we've reached you, I wouldn't mind asking something of you. Linra told me she helped you find our temple, and of course, we saved you. I cannot fathom bothering you with idle thoughts with everything that's just transpired. I meet us in Haven when you've had time to recover from this awful night. Will do. Thanks again. Looking forward to it, Garrett. Ciao.
The fox gives a wink before heading off with his friends. Or I could go back to rest some more. I see Carly standing by and waited patiently for my conversations to end.
Lastly, I want you to mention, Garrett, as it feels my duty never ends. News such as tonight absolutely cannot be delivered by scout. Erijo's going to send Soma. It would be best Lavella heard from me.
You're heading out now?
Yes, I cannot let this news leak to Rivera by others. Cora would most likely disagree and wish she was there herself, but she needs her rest just as much. On top of that, I feel what emotion Lavera will express. The night such as this should never have happened. If there's anyone to blame, I'll take the brunt of it. I don't know if it's wise you go alone. I agree, but I cannot take any further guards than the few we have left. It's best they are here with Cora. Yeah, a few fields north, between Abo and Nayoon, and away from the beaten path. Hopefully it will secure you guys until morning, when you can catch up with me if I'm not in Haven by then. Yeah, understood. I guess we'll see you in Haven Hearth then. Yes, stay safe.
I rise, finally feeling a hint of rest. I was glad to put the other day behind me, if the emotions heavily lingered. It's going to be a long day.
There we go, that was chapter 4, which I wanted to get done. So, yeah, well, chapter 5 will be up sometime in February. I'm not quite sure when. I haven't got the schedules done yet. And speaking of schedules, my last video said I was going to be recorded in Nevin this weekend. A slight change. Nevin is now going to be out the weekend of the 1st of February. And this weekend will be Chemia. It got its public release just yesterday, so I will be doing Chemia this weekend. We're back to Adastra and Neferu and Scipio and Amicus and the rest of them, so that's going to be fun to get back to. So I knew I'd be inserting it as soon as I could. So yeah, Nevin's just put back a week, but don't worry, we will be then. I still have a couple of November ones to fit in as well, so they'll be coming up as well, and I'll let my patrons know next month what the schedule is going to look like. And speaking of my patrons, thanks to everyone who supports the channel, whether it's Ko-fi or Patreon, or even just watching and getting the figures up. As always, I want to say a special thank you to my top patrons: Omar, Rafu, Spiderling, Smuto, Tiger Cup, Ramadrasu, Opus Need Coffee, Addy Bear, Crew, Greylock, Mark Huskerton, Andy Peng, Aaron Fox, Bastian, Bieker, Brian Hall, Coppers Visser, Dissonance, Sexac, Riz, Harvest Mouse Productions, Alec Corval, Evan King, Kartek, Matt Kenya, and Mario Cervantes. And he heard a noise, that was one of the cats jumping on the cat tree. So, yeah, more Chemia on the weekend, and say more of Moonfire in February. But that's it for now. Thanks for watching. Until Chemia. Goodbye.